I want to welcome everyone to Heath Consultants' first virtual conference or virtual forum here. So we're going to be talking about the RMLD-CS today, or RMLD Complete Solution. While this is Heath's first foray into the world of virtual conferencing or video conferencing, I'm sure that it's not even your first one of these for the afternoon or the morning or the evening, depending where you're joining us from. So what I'm getting at is we appreciate your time. We understand it's valuable. So thank you for sharing a little bit of it with us today. I think we've got a great program to go over some information. My name is Eric Six. I am the Heath representative for Ohio in the Northeast. I'm going to be kicking off the presentation, doing the basic information about the unit. I'm then going to transfer it over to our engineering department. We've got Steve Chansey and Kevin Bendelay here from engineering. And then Vivian Marinelli, our marketing director, is also going to help us out today. Now, this may be a little different than some of the video calls that you're used to being on, where those were like a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting. Those are more video face-to-face interaction. This is more of a presenter and an audience type of view. Now, we still would like to have your input. Still like to have some discussions. So if you have any questions, there should be in the bottom right of your screen there should be a box on there to ask a question. If you don't see that, I think in the top right, there's a little icon with a question mark on it. So if you have a question, if you hear something I'm saying you want to hear more on, type that in there. Vivian will be going through those. And at the end, when we're all done, we'll try to answer any questions we can on the fly through the chat, or at the end, we're going to try to do some Q&A at the end. So as I mentioned, I'm in sales with Heath. My colleagues across the country, while they're not presenting today, they're in attendance here in the room with us as well. And on behalf of them, we just want to say, we miss you guys. We miss seeing you. We miss doing demonstrations for you, some face-to-face interaction. We miss that. So we just hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's staying safe, obeying the proper guidelines you're supposed to, because we want to get back out there and see you guys soon. So want to get started here with the presentation. So we've got, should be up on the screen now. Kind of an outline of what we're looking to do today. I think most of you are familiar with Heath Consultants, some of our story. For those that aren't, just have a quick little brief bio for Heath and who we are. Then getting into the RMLD, kind of what the instrument is, why we need it, the applications that it can be used for, advantages of where we think our product leads the way over the others that are out there, some features, specifications. And then I believe on the introductory announcement we sent to you guys, we said we were going to be doing some live field demonstrations. I think on that one, our eyes may have been a bit bigger than our stomach on that one. So what we've got for you is we've got some live recordings of the RMLD being used in the field and some of the applications we have on that. So after that, I'm going to kind of turn it over to Steve in engineering. He's going to go over some more of the mobile app and the mobile phone app that we have and some of the latest updates. And then at the end, again, we'll try to do some Q&A. So if you have any questions, please feel free to enter that in the chat, and we'll try to get to that. So brief history of Heath. Don't want to spend too much time going over this, but Heath, we were founded in 1933 in Stoughton, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston. So this makes this our 87th year in business. Very proudly family owned. Carolyn Heath Haig is our current president and chairman of the board. So Carolyn's doing a great job, but I mentioned we're a woman-owned business, and very, very proud of that family-owned fact. So these are kind of some of just the milestones that Heath has had over the years. You see the one at the top here, it mentions in 2005, we actually came out with what we're now calling our Legacy RMLD. That was released in 2005. If anyone in the call today is from Atmos Energy, Atmos actually purchased the first one. It was 15 years ago, I believe. I know it's to the month. I believe it might have been 15 years ago yesterday, but we actually sold and shipped the first RMLD to Atmos up in Dallas, Texas. So in 2019, we introduced the current version, the RMLD-CS, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. Heath Consultants, we're divided into 3 business units. We've got our products business unit, which is our manufacturing product sales. Assuming everything goes well with this call here today, we would like to possibly do some more of these in the future where we discuss some of our other products, whether that's our Mobile Guard advanced mobile system, that to our Detecto Pack infrared, we've got some pretty cool upgrades that we've made to that one. Our GMIs or Vivex pipe locators. We'd like to plan on doing some more of these in the future. We also have our service business unit at Heath. This consists of our boots on the ground field people, the ones that are out there doing leak survey, one call locating, meter reading. And then about 6 or 7 years ago, we purchased Norton Corrosion. They're a full-scale corrosion engineering service. They do field services and product sales themselves. So that's kind of makes up Heath Consultants. So this is a map of the folks that you might be familiar dealing with at Heath, or our salesmen. Like I said, they're all on the phone here today. So if you have some questions, if you want to have maybe some more one-on-one interaction with some of these guys, here's their contact info. I'll show this slide a little later in the presentation too, so you can copy some of this stuff down if need be. So, but yeah, these are our sales folks there. We're very proud of the fact that with some of the research partners that we work with here. So these are just a few of them. The RMLD was actually a research project we had between Physical Sciences and the Northeast Gas Association NiSearch. But these are the ones that help bring out the R&D that we do, and bring the RMLD and hopefully some more great products down in the future. So I mentioned Heath was formed or founded in the Boston area. In the early 90s, we actually moved to Houston, Texas, and that's where we're currently at today. So if you ever happen to fly into Hobby Airport and have a window seat, just look out the window and you should be able to see our office. We're literally right on the runway there at Hobby. And a couple years ago, we completed our new 22,000 square foot manufacturing facility. So if you ever happen to be in Houston, please feel free to stop by. We'd love to give you a tour on that. Kind of getting into the RMLD here. I mentioned the unit that we released in 2005, which we now refer to as the Legacy RMLD. We were extremely successful with that piece of equipment. We've got thousands of those that have been sold and that are in operation across the country. Odds are, if you're here today joining us, you probably had some experience with the Legacy instrument. And it served us very well. It was an excellent instrument. However, I mentioned it was 2005, so it's got 15 years on it now. And while it's been a great instrument, we've got some technological advances, improvements that make the CS kind of the instrument of the future for us. And we're really excited to talk about some of the things we've got on the CS here for you guys today. So kind of what the RMLD is. If you're not familiar with this is just a brief refresher, why we need it. The idea of the RMLD came out as we wanted to be able to pick up leaks or indications and not physically have to be in the actual gas plume. We wanted to be able to do it remotely. So what's the benefit of this? Allows us to do safer surveys for busy intersections, yards with dogs, fenced off areas. It's a big benefit for stuff like that. Now, I never thought that social distancing would ever be an added benefit of the RMLD, but that's the world we live in these days. And I've heard numerous occasions from our field people that, there's customers that just don't want us anywhere, near their property or in their yards anymore. So the RMLD is a great tool for being able to do those kind of surveys remotely. So this is kind of how the RMLD works. This is the engineering slide. You can get into the numbers on there. I have a way that I like to describe how it works that try to put it more for a layman's point of view. So with the RMLD, when you're using this, there's a signal that's emitted from the instrument. It travels out, it reflects off of a surface, and then it gets that signal back. Now, the surface that can reflect off of can be a number of things. It can be the ground, grass, brick, dirt, asphalt, a house, the side of a meter. Really, the only thing that it doesn't work well with for reflecting off the surface is like a mirrored surface, flat standing water, the material that safety vests, license plates, stop signs are made out of. Doesn't do really well with that. But the good thing with the RMLD is you always know whether you're getting a good signal back or not. So if I were to take the unit, take it outside, shine it straight up into the air, obviously there's not going to be any kind of return signal that comes back. So if I do that, I'm going to get an error warning on the instrument telling me that I don't have a proper signal. So what I'm getting at is you'll always know whether you have that signal coming back to you or not. So getting back to the way that it works. So I shoot that signal out, it reflects off of something and it comes back. Now, under a circumstance where I don't have any gas present, I'm going to shoot 100% of my signal out, it reflects, I get 100% of my signal back. The way that the laser light works is actually it absorbs methane gas. So if this laser light happens to pass through a leak, so let's have an example where we have a gas plume present, I shoot 100% of the signal out, part of it passes through that gas plume, is absorbed by the methane, then I don't get 100% of my signal back. Based on how much I do get back, it's able to give me a quantitative analysis. I'll get a parts per million meter of what my return is, or what my the amount of the leak is on that one. So that's kind of the just the way that I best describe on how to use it. It's more of an engineering slide, kind of going into that, but I like to use that just for my my layman's point of view for that one. So applications of the RMLD, back when we introduced this in 2005, it's you know, we really marketed it more towards a walking leak survey type of instrument, and there were really two ways that the utilities seemed to use it. We'd have some that would completely pull out of the field their conventional methods of doing leak survey, which was most likely flame ionization at the time, and then they would outfit their entire leak survey staff with the RMLDs. So we had that, and then we had other utilities that they would still do the conventional method of leak survey, but then they just use the RMLD to clear like their can't get ins or inaccessible areas. So they would work through a stack of the can't get ins with the RMLD and get those cleared off. So, but over time we saw some more applications that the RMLD was really being used for, and two of the main ones that are really beneficial to the CS that we're really pushing on the CS is odor complaint and leak investigations and emergency response. So on the emergency response side, let's say, God forbid, there's an incident. People would bring in, or utilities would bring in their RMLDs to do some scanning of the surrounding and adjacent houses to make sure that gas wasn't getting inside of them. The way that the RMLD works is it's line of sight. So if that laser, when it emits out, can see or can pass through the gas plume, it's going to give you an indication. Now, for the most part, that line of sight is just going to be from the laser to the ground or to a meter. But that could also continue into through a window. So if the RMLD, if that laser is able to go through a window, we can detect the presence of gas inside that structure by the window if it's present. So so it's been big on emergency response. We're really excited for that application. And then also on the odor complaint and leak investigations, let's have an example of you know, dispatch gets a call at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, you know, hey, I was walking home and I smelled gas at the corner of, you know, Greenup Street and 2nd Avenue. Well, when you show up there at the corner of Greenup Street and 2nd Avenue, that could be a very large area to cover. And conventional methods where you started putting bar tests down, CGI readings, you would you know, walk individual main and service line individually. That took some time. The RMLD, you know, the big benefit of that is I can continuously scan that entire intersection to limit to where that odor might be coming from. So now all of these applications, they did work with our legacy RMLD, but the hindrance on that instrument was, it worked fine. It was just a little bigger and bulkier. You had the transceiver gun, you had the umbilical cord, and then you also had the power box. So, you know, it was a good instrument, but if you're jumping in and out of the truck several times, it was a little bulkier to do that. So that's kind of where the CS comes into play. CS comes into play. That's you know, it's a lighter weight instrument. You know, it's more ergonomically, you know, better form fitting, and just easier to use. So the same applications, you know, the instrument still works the same as the legacy instrument, but just the form fitting, the ergonomics make this a much better instrument to use. Now it's still just as rugged, just as durable to be able to do those walking surveys, but you know, having the added benefit of the emergency response application and the odor complaints really make this one shine. So some of the features with the instrument, has a rechargeable and replaceable battery. So the battery on this, it's actually, you can see it looks kind of like the flashlight you get with a cordless drill, but the battery actually comes out of the bottom, and you can replace that. There's a dual battery charger where I can charge multiple batteries at the same time. So, you know, your battery use on these, you should be able to get a full day's operation out of them, no problem, you know, 8, 9, 10 hours. Let's say you have a situation where you have an emergency and you need to do continuous leak survey throughout the day, throughout the night. This allows you to charge one battery while you're using a battery and, you know, not lose any downtime on there. So we've also, one of the things that we're really excited about, we've introduced a mobile phone app support for this one. So this will allow the app to mirror the real-time images that the RMLD is seeing. It will allow you to leave a breadcrumb or do a breadcrumb trail type of survey, GPS coordinates. I can log leaks into the app, and we'll get to some more of the features of the app here later on. Steve will talk about that on the engineering side. I mentioned the ergonomic housing and the lightweight. It's it's a much easier instrument to use than the Legacy instrument or the Legacy RMLD. The graphical user interface, very easy to get around through menu options. This one, everything's just displayed on the back of the screen here. Makes it real easy to see. Internal data logging, it's recording a lot of the information that the machine's storing, whether it's calibration records or calibration data when you do self-tests. And I'll get into some other features, but image capturing, a lot of that stuff is stored internally. The RMLD-CS added a lot of the features that really weren't available at the time we came out with the Legacy instrument. Those being Wi-Fi, GPS, Bluetooth, all of that stuff is able to either capture the information or then download it to another device, whether it's your laptop or I mentioned the app for the Bluetooth support. So. And then we have a color camera, which has a color display on this one. This can be used for a couple things. It can be used for aiming purposes. And then the really neat feature I like on this one that I'm really excited about is the color camera. So I'm able to actually take a picture while I'm in the field. So if I find a leak, I can just click the button on there. It captures a picture, allows me to download that. I can attach it to a leak report as well. And then I'll get into some more of that, but it's also logging the GPS coordinates, what your gas readings were, and the date and the time. So. But all in all, with the CS, all of these features kind of just lead to an easier instrument to use. So the ease of use is really what we're focusing on here. Really quick startup time with it. You turn it on, it just press and hold the button. It takes about 20 seconds for the unit to warm up. And after that 20 seconds, it's ready to go. There is no other buttons to click or modes to get into to actually perform your survey. Everything is right there. Just as soon as that's warmed up, it's continuously scanning. It's able to start being used. We recommend doing self-test or a daily calibration for the instrument just to verify that it's working. This is done in the carrying case. There is you put the RMLD in the case, it's pointed to a calibration cell on there, and you press a button. It takes about 1.5 minutes to do. And then I mentioned before, all that information, it's stored internally, it's data logged should you ever need to come back and take a look at that again. So weather resistant, has an IP54 rating on there. But really, it's saying is this instrument can be out there. It can be out there in the weather. But whenever people ask me about how does the RMLD handle being used in the weather, whether it's the RMLD or really any of our equipment, the answer that I tend to give people is I would worry more about how, let's say if it's raining, how that rain is going to affect the venting of your gas more so than it's going to affect the operation of the instrument. So if you're expecting with gas, traveling to the path of least resistance, if you're expecting that gas to vent, here, and water in the ground is preventing that from venting there, it's going to vent someplace. So, what I say is the weather really affects how the gas is going to vent more so than the instrument itself. Mentioned the removable battery, long battery life. Again, you should be able to get a full day operation out of this thing, no problem for that. And then you do have the ability to put a new battery in if you need to do that. There's live video. I mentioned on the screen here, you're going to have live video to be able to assist you to aim. There is a spotter laser for aiming purposes. That's just a green spotter laser, but that's only for aiming. The instrument itself is actually in detection mode the minute it's warmed up or the second it's warmed up on there. So, but the spotter laser is just for aiming purposes. That's controlled by the user. Just to press a button turns it on, press the button turns it back off again. The ability to capture pictures, which I mentioned the camera on here, and then any of the information that you get off of there, the data transfer, we make that really simple too, whether it's Bluetooth or hooking up to a USB, that can all be transferred very easily. And we do have, I mentioned the app, which we're really excited about for doing that one for the support. I've got some more slides a little later on in the presentation to kind of go over the app too. So advantages of the RMLD and why we think that this instrument kind of sets ourselves above the others is I mentioned we sold the first RMLDs back in 2005. Well, I myself, I've actually been with Heath for almost 20 years now. And when I first started out in the field, I heard about, we were working on this laser leak detector that, is, you don't need to physically be in there. It's going to do everything remotely. So what I'm getting at is that's just telling you that Heath has had a lot of work in the field of lasers for doing leak detection and leak survey. So we consider ourselves the experts on this. We've tried everything out. We know what works. We know what doesn't work. And what we think we're offering, with the CS, or what we know we're offering with the CS, really is the best solution out there. So there is a detection range on the RMLD. That's generally going to be about 100 feet. Sometimes it might be a little bit more. Sometimes it might be a little bit less, depending on, I guess, how much gas might be there that you're trying to find, or what you're trying to reflect off of for your return surface there. So I've seen, I mentioned 100 feet. I've been able to pick up larger leaks with this thing at 150, 200 feet. Then conversely, if there's, let's say, a fresh snow on the ground, what happens with that? If you're trying to use the snow as the reflective backdrop, the fresh snow sometimes might scatter that laser. So instead of going 100 feet, I might only be able to go, 50 or 60 feet. The good thing with the RMLD, and what I think really sets us apart, is you will always know whether you're getting a good signal back or not. So if I'm trying to scan, 150 feet away and it just might be too far, I'm going to get a warning or get an error on my screen here telling me that I'm too far. Or if I'm trying to scan in snow and it's not able to go that far, I'm going to get a warning telling me that I'm just not able to scan that far. Why is that important? Well, I want to know if I'm getting a good return path or not. If I'm trying to scan 150 feet and my machine's not telling me, that's information I want to know. That I think that's necessary and vital information to know. So if I'm go outside and scan straight at the sky, I don't have a response, obviously anything to reflect back off of, it's going to give me a warning. It's going to give me a warning if I'm too close. It's going to give me a warning if I'm too far away. So I think that's something it's vital to know, and the RMLD definitely tells you that. So you're never questioning whether you're getting a good survey or not. Normal circumstances, it shoots a signal out, gets it back. If there's no sound being made, it's telling you you're good. You don't have any indications there. So the response time on this one, it's really instantaneous. The second it passes through that leak plume, you're going to get an indication on your screen there. So another one that I think really sets Heath apart in RMLD from everything else out there is what we call the dynamic detection algorithm. Not to get too into the weeds with what this is, but just say in normal ambient air, that's around us, there's about 1 to 2 parts per million for about every meter, or about every 3 feet. So why is it important to know that? Well, what the RMLD does is it filters out that background methane. So if I'm just scanning it, 3-4 feet away, against the wall here, that's not a big deal. That's only going to be a couple or a few extra parts per million background methane there. Now, if I'm trying to scan a large distance away, 40, 50, 70 feet, that background methane stacks on top of each other. So what was maybe a couple ppm here, at 75 feet could be 80, 90 parts per million of background. Well, what the RMLD does is it filters out all of that background. So I'm only going to get an alarm once my indication exceeds whatever the background is. So I think those two features, that detection range and the ability to know when you're getting a good signal or not, and that detection algorithm, those are two of the features that we're really most excited about and most proud of here with the RMLD. So I talked a lot about the data logging with GPS. Here's kind of if you look at the top right screen there, you can see the image of what the user would be seeing. Anytime they were to capture information, that information would then be sent in a text file if you wanted to download it later. So there's 3 display modes when you're doing a survey. We've got survey, graph, and image. Image and graph are displayed on the screen now. On the graph, you see it's got some numbers and some graphs on there. The survey screen just has numbers, but the one that I would envision people are going to use the vast majority of the time is that image screen. Because on image, you get the graphs, you get the numbers, and then most importantly, you're going to get a video of being able to see where you're aiming. So while we do have the spotter laser for aiming purposes, sometimes if you're trying to shine too far away, or if it's too bright out, you might not be able to see that spotter laser. So that's where that imaging, you see there's like a targeting icon right in the middle there. So that really helps you out for aiming purposes on that one. So with the RMLD though, when you order one, you get everything you need. There are no additional accessories or parts. You get the RMLD, battery pack, the charger, power supply, all that stuff is provided with the instrument. I've touched on most of the specifications here. The only one that I did want to say too is the beam size. I mentioned it's a conical shaped beam. If I didn't say that, it's a conical shaped beam, so it's cone shaped, meaning that when you're emitting, it's coming out of this little 1/4 inch slot there on the unit. But it expands out at 100 feet. It's about 22 inches wide, or just under 2 feet wide. And then conversely, at 50 feet, it's about 1 foot wide. So we feel that really gives us an advantage for when you're out there doing leak survey. If you're just doing some continuous scanning, you have a wider beam, allows for greater range of coverage on there. So here's the, I guess we've come to the live recording portion of the show. I mentioned we were trying to do some, we're going to try to do some live field demos, but you know, we realized there might have been a lot of hiccups in that. So what we did is we had, this is Roy Montemorano. He's our going to be playing our leak survey guy today, and hopefully you guys can hear the sound on, or some of the sound on this one, at least for the alarm point. But this is Roy just doing a like a residential leak survey. You can see him, you know, continuously scanning the instrument. You know, the big thing with this is it's not a point and shoot. It's continuously scanning. So you're not holding it, waiting, and then pressing a button. It's a continuous scan instrument. So this is Roy doing a leak survey, and we've got a leak later on for him to find. It's at the curb here. But as we pan the camera around, you can see Roy. He's got it on the survey screen right now, and this is a leak right there at the corner. But this is Roy using the instrument, and I wanted to show you too some features. So you get the survey screen. You see it's giving you a peek in the, and that's actually so. Now I had Roy take a picture when he was out there. So this was the image that Roy actually captured of that leak. Now when he takes this, he downloads it. You'll get that picture. You'll get the GPS coordinates of exactly where that was at, the time of day, the day of the week, or the date, and then what the actual readings were. So. I mentioned too the app. If you can see on the screen, this is the app being used in conjunction with the RMLD. So on the right-hand side, you can see it's mirroring what the RMLD has. It's you know, picking up its live readings. Now, if you wanted to log a leak on this one, you see on the right-hand top right of the app, there's a log leak button. So every time that's pressed, what it does is it's already doing the breadcrumb trailing, but then it'll put a leak plot down on the map. So when you want to go out and check that further as well. So that was a walking survey. This would be a survey for above ground piping or a meter survey. This could, like I say, this here is just a meter. We've done applications this before where it might be a regulator station, might be a compressor station. We have a lot of above ground piping where the RMLD, just because you can't maybe gain access to a reg station, or you're trying to get a large area at once, this is where the RMLD really comes into play here. This one. Swivel of the instrument, and here's him just taking another picture of that. So again, you can download information, you could attach it to a leak report, so you've got everything is encapsulated right there that you find, and you see he's switching between the different modes of operation. So just to give you kind of a view of just how big that leak was. So it was a leak we created on a meter there. You got the bubbles coming up. So those are the first two applications of the RMLD, and it's pretty easy to go out there in the field and you know, go out and find a grade 3 leak that hasn't been scheduled for repair yet, or to create a leak on a meter that which we've done here. It's a little more difficult to do for the inside building surveys here. So this particular one, I mentioned that, you know, one of the big benefits that we're really excited for the CS is the ability to do, you know, emergency response or inside scanning. So, you know, I mentioned it's line of sight. So if that laser can see through that window, you know, you're going to be able to pick up, you know, if there's gas inside that building, you're going to be able to pick it up here. So you know, I know myself personally, I've seen that, you know, dozens of times, just where not even trying to, just out doing a regular. Here's Roy picking up the leak there, but scan the. You know, just near a window, not even intentionally, you know, expecting to find gas there. You know, the instrument goes off, you do some further investigation, and it turns out, yeah, there's gas inside that structure that, you know, this does a very good job of being able to pick up. So these are kind of the some field operations of the instrument here. You know, we did what we could for the time that we had for being able to do this. But you can see kind of the three modes of survey for the RMLD. We had our, you know, our walking survey, which again allows you continuous scan. We had our above ground piping survey, and then our inside meter survey. So that's what I'm kind of getting at, is the RMLD. It's rugged enough to do a standard walking survey. You know, it's a tough instrument, but then it's versatile enough to be able to do that above ground piping and to do especially the emergency response or first responder investigations where you're trying to scan inside of a house. So here's just a brief view of the screen capture data that I mentioned of. Is we've got this here, so it's a picture of the instrument, picture taken, and then overlaid onto a map where you've got your gas concentration and GPS coordinates. And then Steve's going to talk a little bit more about the app here, but this is our mobile app support. You can see the 3 pictures here. The one on the left is standard operation without finding a leak. The one in the middle is when we picked an indication up. And then you see the log leak button up there. When we press that on the right, that's the breadcrumb trail of when we went out and walked this area the other day. And then each of those red spots is where that log leak was pressed. So I'm going to let Steve talk a little bit more about that. So Steve, I'll turn it over to you. If anybody has questions, please feel free to let us know. And Steve, the floor is yours. Yeah, kind of wrapping up here. I know one of the questions that I could answer here was somebody asked if we're planning on doing these for any other future products or any other products we have in the future. And I would like to say that we had a phenomenal turnout here today. Thank you everybody for attending. It was higher than we were actually thought we would get. So we had with great turnout. I think that's definitely going to make that decision easy for us to move on in the future and maybe next week do something else, or we'll certainly keep everybody abreast of what we're going on with. And we definitely like to do something. If anybody has any questions, either more questions on the RMLD or just other questions, there should be a map of the US on the screen now with your, I guess, respective sales consultant there. So, you know, everybody can, you know, if you had questions you'd like to speak to us individually on, or if you'd like some more information or pricing, please reach out and we'll get back in touch with you as soon as we can. And again, thank you for everybody. Thank you to everybody for tuning in for part of your day for this. It really means a lot it means a lot to us that we had such a great attendance here, and hope everybody is keeping their sanity and staying safe. And we will see you next time. Thanks again.